One of the markers of an abusive relationship is obsession, and specifically obsession with control. Abusers will often try to control your financial situation. They'll try to control what you say and what you tell to others, and this control can get so deep into the mind of the victims of that abuse that it even starts to control what you think and believe truly in your heart out of fear. You start to accept the abuse as normal, and you start to insert the narrative of the abuser in place of your own thoughts, your own feelings, your own opinion, and your own reasoning. And one of the most abusive relationships that has been going on in the United States of America happens to be the relationship with the media and everyday people that just want to think for themselves, and independent people who are not interested in just repeating the narrative. Now, obviously, if you're watching this video, you've seen the title, you've seen the thumbnail, you know we're going to be talking about something related to the Amber Heard case, but this video is actually going to be about the reaction from the media, because the media feels really angry that you out there on the internet.com and you out there in the public can watch the trial, form your own opinion, and people are actually becoming successful by countering the narrative that they've laid forward that you're supposed to believe. But before we get into this, we have a sponsor of this video. We're going to throw it over to them, and then we're going to talk about this on the other side. Like it or not, our appearance has a big impact on our mental health. I'm sure you've heard the expression, if you look good, you feel good, and that could not be more true. This is why there's so many anti-aging products out there on the market. But the thing is, these don't really work because they don't address the root cause of aging. What you need is a good collagen supplement. With one of these, you could have better looking skin, better looking hair, and actually have better gut health. But you're not going to run out to the store and buy the first collagen thing that you see like a dumb idiot. You're going to get the top of the line stuff over at Health with Justice. This collagen powder is the best, the absolute tops. I take it every day and my skin is so soft, my hair is so luxurious, and I just look fantastic, which is why I feel so much better than all of you who haven't got all of this. But fear not, friends, you don't need to be left out of this party. If you go over to Health with Justice right now, you could get 51% off exclusively for my audience. Healthwithjustice.com, get your collagen powder. So as you guys know by now, Amber Heard has lost her defamation case against Johnny Depp. Now, as I talked about in my previous video, she technically did win on one count, but if you want to factor it in terms of the number of counts or the number of money that is due to the other party, Amber Heard clearly lost this. The jury of her peers looked at the evidence that was presented, looked at her testimony, and deemed her guilty of defamation because she has said things that are provably false, that contradict her depositions in the past, which are on video, and other statements that she's made in the public. Now, I've said on this channel before, and I stand by it at this point, that this case doesn't really have broader implications for domestic violence cases, for how people view the relations between men and women, or anything like that. Johnny Depp is one of the most famous people in the history of the world, or at least in the modern history. He is known by almost everybody in America, and even top actors that make big bucks now don't have the level of fame of Johnny Depp, because movie stars from a certain era just have more prominence than movie stars of the current era. That's just the way it is. So the idea that we're going to draw parallels between regular people in regular domestic violence cases that have to go through these defamation things is just ridiculous. The idea that Amber Heard's situation, whether you're for or against her, which by the way, most of you, because you've seen the trial, you probably watch more of the trial than me, are against Amber Heard, wouldn't be for her, so I get that. But whether you're for or against her, she's not representative of women. She was married to a celebrity. She's also a celebrity on her own. She has the backing of institutions that individuals just don't typically have, and she even got the ACLU to basically commit fraud on her behalf. They gave her terrible advice and destroyed their reputation in order to help Amber Heard. But just because that is 100% true, that there are no broader implications from the case at hand, that doesn't mean that the media doesn't feel that way. That doesn't mean that actors in the media aren't angry that they weren't able to control the narrative. And what we're going to talk about today is the fact that they are striking back against the people who have kind of gone along with what they believe to be the truth, because the evidence in the trial was overwhelmingly in favor of Johnny Depp, and how they don't like it, and now they're going after your purse strings. You see, YouTubers have been covering this trial. People have been live streaming it. Now, the media, by the way, has been covering this trial wire to wire. They've been playing it on television. They made a ton of money on it. But since the news media has essentially embraced the narrative when it comes to the Johnny Depp Amber Heard situation, we're not going to talk about the money that they're making, but the news media has decided to target YouTubers for making money for allegedly pushing misogynistic and hateful content towards women and towards Amber Heard, and now we need another adpocalypse in order to deal with it. And you've seen articles about this across the internet. People have been tweeting about this, that this is the new move of the media. And I believe that this is also an extension of the Amber Heard PR strategy, because obviously she's going to appeal and she doesn't like the fact that the court of public opinion is against her. So her and the people who are aligned with her are seeking out and targeting people who they believe to be are the ones that are manufacturing that public opinion. But in reality, that's not the case. In reality, most people are watching this trial due to the celebrities involved in this trial, and they seek out media that they already agree with. So targeting these media figures for what they're saying related to the case because you think they're manufacturing the narrative is just not how things work. But again, the media are acting as abusers of the American population, so they don't know that. They assume that they have control over the narrative, therefore anybody who goes against them that is getting any kind of viewership also is exerting a similar kind of power and influence over their audience. Therefore, they need to target them in order to curtail their competition. And you could tell that the media's goal is to smear and censor the competition, to go after them, because they don't like the counter narrative. They don't like that it exists, and they seek to control it. And they're bitter about the fact that people who didn't go to professional top-tier journalism school are getting views and clicks and all these things associated with their actual coverage. And by the way, their coverage is typically based on what's going on in the trial, so it's more accurate than the way the media jumped on the one-sided Washington Post article put forward by Amber Heard. But check out this headline from Newsweek. We're going to read through this article, and I'm going to show you exactly what I mean, because every paragraph is full of contempt. So the article is written by someone called Jamie Burton. Never heard of her or him. I don't care to look it up. And the article's headline is, YouTubers' videos dragging Amber Heard may make him up to $64,000 a month. Now, this headline in this article is meant to play on the envy of people out there. It's meant to scare YouTube and scare advertisers into thinking that what people are actually making, what advertisers are actually advertising on, is very mean content, very misogynistic content, possibly racist content, because, you know, after the jury came in with their verdict, for some reason, people were trying to say that the Amber Heard verdict has implications for black women everywhere, because everything has to be about racism in our society. And you could just tell they're trying to play off of that envy and hatred that these people aren't really earning it, when in reality, Jamie hasn't earned anything near any of these YouTubers who put in the work, covered the trial, and actually speak to the people and form connections with their audience that this person can never possibly do. And if you don't believe that this isn't just Jamie reporting the proper headlines, just giving you the information, giving you the facts, all it takes is a cursory look through the article to understand how bitter this reporting actually is. Because in one of the paragraphs, what you'll see is a year-over-year projection of what the YouTuber in question is going to be making from the Amber Heard coverage. So the article's highlighting another bitter person named Boozy, and they're claiming that Lewis, who by the way is that umbrella guy, earned almost $80K a month or $1 million a year for his coverage of the trial, as suggested by the YouTube revenue calculator socialblade.com. Now, I know a lot of people, specifically YouTubers, who look at this end up wanting to contest the idea that Social Blade is not that accurate of an indicator of the revenue generated for the creator or any of that, but in reality, that's not the case. It's actually pretty good within the range, but the range is wide. Obviously, this article and the person that this article is quoting is using the higher end projection for obvious purposes, but that is not what is concerning to me. What is concerning to me is the fact that according to this article, this person who's covering the trial that lasted 3 weeks would make $1 million a year off of covering this trial, even though, again, it lasted 3 weeks. What is the reason for putting that in the article other than for you guys out there in the audience who are bitter and jealous of other people's success, who are the audience of Newsweek, to think that somebody's making $1 million off of being abusive to the innocent woman Amber Heard? Everyone knows that this is not the case. Cursory research on YouTube would let you know that you're not guaranteed any amount of views month to month, and a 3-week story doesn't play as well after a year or throughout the course of a full year. So this calculation, even though it exists on Social Blade, even though you could argue it's technically factually true because it's on Social Blade, is only being reported by all these different news agencies for the sole purpose of inciting hatred against YouTubers and getting YouTube, the company, to clamp down on the coverage that this person disagrees with. It is wholly dishonest, it's disingenuous in every possible way, and again, it's all proven out by the facts, and if you just think about it for a minute, this 3-week trial that maybe you'll get a month and a half of coverage out of is just not something that you can scale up for a year-long production. We're not going to be talking about the Amber Heard trial absent appeals in the future a year from now. It's just not the case. Yet it is presented to people out there in the audience like this guy. Again, is pulling in $1 million a year, and this isn't the only article like that. Business Insider India, for some reason, actually has an article breaking down who on YouTube are the top super chat recipients that are covering the Amber Heard trial. Now, on its own, I can understand that this is perfectly fine if you want to report it, if you want to send a journalist to go watch live streams and calculate every single super chat that was sent to a YouTuber that they disagree with politically, that's one thing, but in reality, these numbers are being removed from their context and used by other media outlets as a mechanism to lobby YouTube to clamp down on people disagreeing with the Amber Heard narrative that the media wants to put forward. The idea is you can't have you guys out there, the plebs, the dirtbags, the worthless people, according to these journalists, super chatting what you actually believe based on what you're seeing in the trial to your favorite YouTubers, because if we had that, then the legitimate journalists like Taylor Lorenz would not get the esteem that they're due. So you see these numbers, and of course they have the old calculations of the income from a previous year versus the once-in-a-lifetime coverage of this trial that we're seeing. Also not factored into these calculations is that YouTube actually takes 30% of the super chat, so every time you super chat your creator, they actually jack at least 30%. Sometimes they've actually taken 35% of certain super chats from me, which I'm not a big fan of. I think that might be due to the fact that certain payment processors actually take their own cut, so by the time it gets to me, it's way less. When Streamlabs actually takes something like 1 or 2%, way better option for live streaming. But again, these people are having these impromptu live streams. People are donating that money out of the goodness of their heart because they appreciate the coverage, because they're entertained, and now it is becoming fodder for the mainstream media to demand censorship of YouTube. And by the way, a lot of the channels that these people are naming are not just upstarts covering the Amber Heard thing just because it's the new hot trendy item. A lot of these people are legal channels that put in the work for years. They built up their brand, and they were fortunate enough in terms of their lives to come across a once-in-a-lifetime story that fits within their category that people have a giant appetite for coverage for. Now, when I see $250,000 in pre-YouTube cut coverage for a month and a half's worth of coverage of the Amber Heard trial, there's definitely a part of me that wishes that I would have done live streams covering this event, because I'm trying to save up money so I can get myself a bigger space so I can put forward a better show for you guys. But in reality, I was just not one of those people that was super interested in the celebrity trial. It's not one of my favorite things to do. That being said, if this goes on to appeal and you guys are going to be dropping $250,000 for people covering this, I will be covering it wire to wire. I will be streaming for 18 days straight, just everything about the trial over the weekends. I will be like, Amber Heard, everything to me. I'm just gonna look in your face at all that and talk about how I think you're wrong based on everything, as long as you guys give me that super chat money, sign up for my Patreon, and just donate to my down payment fund so I can get myself a bigger space and have myself a real authentic studio. Now, with that being said, obviously there's some content creators, some YouTubers that have more care and more intellect in their coverage. One of the guys that I definitely appreciate that was doing really well due to the Amber Heard coverage was Nate the Lawyer. Nate the Lawyer is somebody who's always been really solid on legal issues. I like some of his takes. Sometimes I'll even defer to some of his takes because he's actually a lawyer. He knows what he's talking about, and he just doesn't come off as a bad guy. Every single interaction I've had with him has been positive, whether we agree or disagree, and he seems to be somebody who supports this channel, which is great because I support his channel, and he really got a huge boost from the Amber Heard trial, and he's definitely somebody who deserves it. And the idea that he and other people who covered these trials, who actually brought their intellect to the table, who actually got some more interest in their specific side of the trial, are going to be censored, demonetized, and punished for their coverage, for bringing eyeballs to the screens, is absurd in every possible way. On top of that, it's insanely hypocritical. I talked about how the media was covering this wire to wire, but remember, Savannah Guthrie got this exclusive interview that they released over the course of 5 days over at the Today Show and Dateline, I believe, or Nightline. I forget which one it was. You think that was done for the interest of forwarding what's good related to domestic violence? Or do you think that was done to keep people returning to the screen so that they could watch this controversy unfold? This was the only exclusive interview from Amber Heard. They were hanging on to it. It was within the public interest, and they dabbled out little by little to rope you guys in order for you to watch that show. You think her motives are pure as the driven snow? Did you know that her husband was actually a consultant for the Johnny Depp defense team? But for some reason, when it's NBC, when they're doing a highly produced, highly edited sit-down interview where they give Amber Heard all the questions in advance and they dribble that out over the course of days, that's totally fine. That's not worthy of scorn. That's just normal media reporting, because that's the elite media, that's the corporate media, and we should all pay our respects to the obvious cash grab they're trying to make. But when YouTubers are making money, oh no, absolutely not. Independent people being successful, hate them. YouTube, you gotta ban them. This is misogyny and racism and whatever. How dare you not believe our precious Amber Heard? By the way, fun fact about Nate the Lawyer's coverage, throughout his coverage, which by the way is overwhelmingly pro-Depp because Nate the Lawyer actually looks at the evidence, assesses it, and then he comes to his conclusion, he has never failed in any of the videos that I've watched to mention the fact that Amber Heard is actually really attractive, which is funny because this is something that my girlfriend also mentions about Amber Heard. Now, I know people out there on the internet are going to leave their comments about how somehow they're so much better than Amber Heard, and Amber Heard is a 2 to them, when in reality, we all know that you guys are morbidly obese, you look terrible, and you're just hating because of her personality and some of her erratic behavior. But because Nate has said this so many times in the videos that I've watched, because my girlfriend has reminded me of this, every time I watch, I find myself looking at her face and actually being a little bit in awe of how nice looking this woman actually is. Now, is she a problem? Yes. Do I believe she has a lot of sinister intent? Yes. Is this somebody that I would want to be trapped in a marriage with? Yes, but that's because she's rich and she wouldn't be able to extort a bunch of money out of me, even though she's a little bit crazy. But if I was also rich and richer than her, would this be somebody that I would want to be stuck in a marriage with? Probably not, because I would probably end up losing that because I ain't no Johnny Depp. I don't got the decades of love and fanfare that he's got, and I don't have the financial wherewithal to fight back against an overwhelming media campaign. So I just wanted to put that out there. I know that seems super random, but again, it's one of the aspects of Nate the Lawyer's coverage that I actually really appreciated, because it definitely sticks with you because he brings it up enough times for it to get in the back of your head. I know what Johnny Depp fell for. I understand it. It's okay, Johnny. You can come back to us. You can be a pirate again or do whatever you want with your acting career. In conclusion, I want you guys all out there in the audience to remember that when you see less and less people covering legal topics because suddenly they've been removed off the platform, that this is an effort by the media to control and engineer public opinion. They don't like the fact that independent people can be successful providing better coverage than they do, and that's why they're lashing out and attacking and are trying to play on your worst natures, envy, jealousy, and bitterness by mentioning how much money all these people are making. But in reality, these people deserve it. It's a once-in-a-lifetime moment, and you should be happy for other people's success, not scornful of it. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you liked the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, social medias, follow them, support via the support links. This has been me talking about the strike back from the mainstream media. Till next time.